4:09. Good afternoon. Unbelievable news on my timeline on Twitter/X last night. Genuinely couldn't believe it. Speedway in Peterborough has been given a lifeline. The City Council Planning Committee voted to refuse outline planning permission for the part of the showground where the track is. Asset Earning Power Group want to build 1,500 homes and leisure facilities on the Speedway track. Now, the Peterborough Speedway Consortium were behind the group to lobby council members to refuse. Julie Stevenson is an independent Peterborough City Councillor for Orton Waterville. Julie, welcome. It was actually your Twitter feed that made me realise that actually this wasn't happening. There is some confusion over the decision made last night, though. So can you clarify what's going on?
Afternoon, Louise. Yeah, it was a very long meeting. It was 6 hours. And to be quite honest with you, the applicant had submitted for 850 houses and leisure facilities on the site had already been approved. And I thought, certainly, that the other application for 650 houses would also be approved. And it kind of looked that way, and it sounded that way from what the committee members were saying, and they're all councillors in Peterborough, right up to about 5 minutes before the end, by which we were all quite tired. And then there was a sudden change, and Councillor Harper, who is the committee chair there, he said some words about how he'd listened to what the councillors had said, what residents had said about the worry about the loss of amenity, the loss of the showground. And what his actual words were, the reason for refusal was refusal on the grounds that the benefits don't outweigh the conflicts with the local plan. So the local plan had said 650 houses can go on the showground. They'd already approved 180 earlier in the meeting, and they just felt that on balance 650 additional houses plus the loss of the Speedway, which is in this parcel of land, was just too much. And so that was their decision, and it wasn't unanimous, but that was their decision to refuse. And we were all, I would say, shell-shocked and gobsmacked, and we still are, to be honest. It was a huge surprise.
So, Julie, just for people that don't know the East of England Showground, let's just try and get a scale of the size. So, is this the implication now that 850 houses will be accepted? Has been accepted. They will be built, but there is now space on the same piece of land, the existing Speedway site, for the Speedway track to stay. Is that what the implication now is?
So there is, yes, that's basically right. So there's already Orton Northgate, Orton Southgate and Elderbrook. So we've already got quite a lot of houses on the showground space already. Yes, there will be this 850 houses plus this leisure centre facilities that are being put on there. Now, it happens that the space that they've declined, that they refused last night, does actually contain the Speedway track at present. That is not to say that Speedway will continue there. This is a step in the process, if you like, of planning permission. And what the council officer, who's the chairman, said last night in his remarks and has said after the meeting as well, is that he hopes now that the applicants, the East of England Agricultural Society with AEPG, their land promoter, hopes they will have dialogue with the Speedway team to see if there's any way that the Speedway can be saved and that racing can continue on the site. The grandstand, the track, have been partially dismantled already, but those things can pretty easily be replaced again. But it's now in the gift of AEPG to have those conversations with the Speedway supporters to see if an accommodation can be reached. So far, AEPG have been absolutely adamant that no, it cannot, and that Speedway is finished there. But seriously, we need to listen to local people and what they want, don't we? And us local councillors who represent them, who are saying that people desperately want the Speedway back. So I really hope that we can move on from whatever's gone on to this point and start to have discussions and move this forward. If it comes to it and they absolutely say no and there's no way, then the council, please, must help us find another home for Speedway. But our number one priority is to keep it in its home on the East of England Showground, where it's been for over 50 years.
And what hope then now do you have, or certainly Speedway fans and those involved in the Speedway community, what hope now is there that Speedway can stay in Peterborough?
There's always hope, isn't there? Hope's a difficult one. A lot of things change. I mean, look how the pandemic changed the way we live our lives. And the whole demise of the showground as a showground was to do with footfall, people coming along to shows. that was before the pandemic. It was like 2012. Imagine now, if that decision to close it was being made now, and people want to be together now, don't they? Something we learned during the pandemic, that people really want to be together. So people are behaving differently now since all the lockdowns and everything. So we're in a different place. And the thing is with planning, it takes a really long time, takes years. And over the course of those years, a lot of things can happen in the world that none of us can control or predict. So I'd say there's always hope, therefore, because this is a movable feast. Things are always changing. But, we'll have to see. It's jaw, not war, as they say. It's talking that will resolve this. And we don't wish to be combative. The councillors certainly don't. The Speedway folks certainly don't. We need to talk and get this settled. But one way or another, we have to fight for this heritage sport in Peterborough. Otherwise, I would say every sport and passion that people have for their hobbies in this city are at risk, and we can't possibly allow that to happen. It wouldn't be the right thing to do.
Now, apparently a similar decision was made in Coventry.
That's right, yeah.
Is there anything that we can learn from that?
Yeah, well, the Speedway guys here, and it's a consortium of supporters, are working with the solicitor who worked on that on behalf of the team there. So they're taking a lot of learning from that, and a lot of the arguments that were heard last night at the planning committee were put by that solicitor. So I know a lot of lessons are being learnt there about, there's a precedent set, for example, and that has to be listened to. You can't just ignore these things. No one wants any of this to become litigious, of course not, but this is a huge planning application. It affects a lot of people's lives. So ultimately, solicitors, legal people are going to be involved, and they're going to be around the table on both sides. But yes, and there's been quite an outcry around the country with Speedway tracks being closed for development, and it's just not fair. And I had to take my hat off to the team, the Panther supporters in Peterborough, because they have fought so hard. And that's the reason now that Speedway really is on the map in this city, and it's down to their tenacity and not giving up and holding on to that hope that things could change. So I wish the absolute best of luck to them.
People power, Julie. Well, listen, I'm pretty sure we'll put you on speed dial because as soon as there's any more news, we'd love to find out more. Julie Stevenson, thank you for being with us. Julie's an independent Peterborough City Councillor for Alton Waterville. 17 minutes past 4.